Command bunkers. Command bunkers house leadership, communications equipment, and operational planning spaces deep underground. They exist because destroying headquarters paralyzes entire armies, making command protection strategically essential. Structurally, these bunkers feature multiple levels, blast doors, filtered ventilation, independent power generation, and communication redundancy. Depths range from 30 to 200 feet underground with reinforced concrete walls up to 16 feet thick. Hitler's Führerbunker in Berlin sat 55 feet underground with 13-foot concrete ceilings during the final battle in 1945. NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain Complex buried operations 2,000 feet inside granite, protected by 25-ton blast doors mounted on springs to absorb nuclear shock waves. The Soviet Union constructed thousands throughout the Cold War, some extending 200 feet deep, designed to survive direct nuclear strikes. Their strength was survivability with maintained command and control during sustained attacks. Their weakness was static locations vulnerable to intelligence penetration. Command bunkers ensure someone can still give orders when everything above ground burns. Nuclear-hardened bunkers. Nuclear-hardened bunkers withstand atomic weapons through extreme construction, designed to survive blast overpressure, thermal radiation, and electromagnetic pulse. They exist because nuclear arsenals made conventional protection obsolete, forcing entirely new engineering standards. Structurally, these bunkers require depths exceeding 100 feet, concrete walls reinforced with steel reaching 20 feet thick, shock-absorbing mounting systems, filtered ventilation with blast valves, and independent life support for weeks or months. The Soviet Union constructed hundreds throughout the Cold War, including facilities under Moscow designed to protect leadership during nuclear exchange. Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center in Virginia sits inside solid rock designed to house executive branch continuity. China's underground Great Wall reportedly spans 3,000 miles of tunnels protecting mobile nuclear missiles from first strike. Their strength was survival guarantee that maintained strategic deterrence even after nuclear attack. Their weakness was astronomical cost-limiting numbers built. Nuclear-hardened bunkers exist to ensure capability remains to retaliate after civilization ends above ground. Coastal defense bunkers. Coastal defense bunkers mount heavy guns to control sea approaches and prevent amphibious landings. They exist because small garrisons can control vast coastlines by threatening invasion fleets from protected positions. Structurally, these bunkers feature massive construction to house naval-caliber guns, some exceeding 15 inches. Walls reach 16 feet thick, observation posts provide targeting data, ammunition magazines store hundreds of rounds, and reinforced firing chambers withstand gun recoil and enemy bombardment. Germany's Atlantic Wall stretched 2,400 miles from Norway to Spain with over 15,000 bunkers, many mounting salvaged naval guns. The largest positions at Calais housed 406 mm naval rifles with 45-mile range. Japan fortified Pacific Islands with coastal bunkers that devastated initial landing attempts at Tarawa and Peleliu, despite overwhelming Allied naval superiority. Their strength was a defensive economy of force-threatening invasion fleets. Their weakness was flanking through undefended beaches and vulnerability to sustained naval bombardment. Coastal defense bunkers make every landing attempt cost more than attackers want to pay. Artillery bunkers. Artillery bunkers protect heavy guns and crews from counter-battery fire while providing stable firing platforms. They exist because protecting guns meant maintaining firepower that mobile artillery couldn't sustain under return fire. Structurally, these bunkers use thick overhead cover, typically 6 to 12 feet of reinforced concrete, with retractable or rotating gun positions. Magazine storage separates from crew spaces, ventilation systems handle gun smoke, and ammunition lifts move rounds from protected storage below. Germany's Atlantic Wall incorporated artillery bunkers with 11-foot concrete walls protecting 88 mm to 406 mm weapons. The Maginot Line featured rotating artillery turrets traversing 360 degrees while protected by 12 feet of steel-reinforced concrete. Japan constructed artillery bunkers throughout Pacific islands like Iwo Jima, with guns positioned in caves that survived days of naval bombardment. Their strength was sustained fire support with crew protection, allowing prolonged operations. Their weakness was predictable locations vulnerable to aerial reconnaissance. Artillery bunkers trade mobility for protection, keeping guns firing when everything else gets silenced. Anti-aircraft bunkers. Anti-aircraft bunkers position air defense weapons in protected emplacements that coordinate aerial defense while shielding crews and equipment from bombing attacks. They exist because air superiority determines battlefield outcomes, and armies need resilient air defense networks. Structurally, these bunkers combine gun positions with fire control centers, ammunition storage, crew quarters, and power generation. Flak towers represent the ultimate expression, massive concrete structures mounting multiple gun batteries with integrated radar and searchlight positions. Germany constructed 8 flak towers in Berlin, Hamburg, and Vienna, each mounting 8 128mm anti-aircraft guns plus lighter weapons. The Zoo Tower in Berlin had walls 11 feet thick, housed 30,000 civilians during raids, and remained operational until Soviet forces entered the city in 1945. Their strength was coordinated fire control, maximizing defensive effectiveness. Their weakness was enormous resource investment and immobility as battle lines shifted. Anti-aircraft bunkers make the sky expensive enough that bombers think twice. Ammunition storage bunkers. Ammunition storage bunkers isolate explosives from combat areas while protecting stockpiles from enemy fire. They exist because ammunition concentration creates vulnerability, and proper storage prevents catastrophic losses from chain reactions. Structurally, these bunkers use earth-covered concrete construction with reinforced doors, ventilation controlling temperature and humidity, and deliberate spacing to contain accidental detonations. Interior partitions separate different ammunition types. The Allies constructed hundreds throughout England before D-Day, stockpiling millions of rounds for invasion. Germany built underground ammunition plants and storage throughout occupied Europe, some facilities extending miles underground. Their strength was protected supply sustainability, keeping operations functioning through extended campaigns. Their weakness was predictable locations vulnerable to intelligence collection. Ammunition bunkers ensure armies never run out of means to fight. Pillboxes. Pillboxes mount weapons in small reinforced concrete structures that provide concentrated firepower from protected positions. They exist because machine guns need stable platforms that withstand counter-battery fire while controlling key terrain. Structurally, pillboxes use thick reinforced concrete walls, typically 3 to 6 feet, with narrow firing slits and steel-reinforced embrasures. Small footprints, usually 10 to 15 feet across, present minimal targets while housing 2 to 6 defenders with automatic weapons. Germany built thousands along the Atlantic Wall from 1942 to 1944, concentrating them at beaches like Omaha, where Allied forces took devastating casualties. The Maginot Line incorporated pillboxes throughout its defensive network, positioned to create overlapping fields of fire. Switzerland constructed over 3,000 throughout the Alps during World War II. Their strength was protection for crew-served weapons with small size, making them difficult targets. Their weakness was limited visibility and vulnerability to close assault with explosives. Pillboxes hold ground and force attackers to pay in blood for every approach. Air raid shelters. Air raid shelters protect civilians and military personnel from aerial bombardment. They exist because strategic bombing targeted cities, and governments needed to reduce civilian casualties without evacuating populations that kept war industries running. Structurally, shelters range from basement reinforcements to purpose-built underground facilities. Public shelters accommodate hundreds or thousands, featuring reinforced concrete roofs, blast walls, multiple exits, and ventilation for extended stays. London's underground stations sheltered 177,000 people nightly during the Blitz in 1940. Germany constructed massive flak towers in cities like Berlin and Hamburg, combining anti-aircraft platforms with shelter space for 10,000 to 30,000 civilians protected by 11-foot concrete walls. Their strength was mass protection, reducing bombing effectiveness against civilian morale. Their weakness was inadequate capacity, forcing rotation systems. Air raid shelters ensure enough people survive to rebuild when planes finally leave. Communications bunkers. Communications bunkers house radio equipment, telephone exchanges, and signal intelligence operations in protected facilities. They exist because modern warfare depends on communications, and severing connections isolates entire armies. Structurally, these bunkers require electromagnetic shielding, multiple antenna connections, independent power systems, and equipment cooling. Cold War designs incorporated EMP protection, and hardened connections to strategic networks. British listening stations operated from protected facilities intercepting German signals throughout World War II. Germany built communication bunkers connecting Hitler's headquarters to field commands. The United States constructed communication facilities throughout the Pacific, maintaining coordination across vast oceanic distances. Their strength was preserved command and control, preventing fog of war from paralyzing operations. Their weakness was vulnerability to signals intelligence revealing locations. Communications bunkers ensure someone can still hear and respond when conventional infrastructure fails. Hospital bunkers. Hospital bunkers provide protected medical facilities for treating casualties under fire. They exist because armies need to stabilize wounded soldiers quickly, and medical facilities require protection to function during combat. Structurally, these bunkers feature operating theaters, recovery wards, medical supply storage, power generation, water systems, and ventilation adequate for extended patient care. Depths typically range 20 to 40 feet with reinforced access for ambulance entry. Germany constructed hospital bunkers throughout defensive positions during World War II, particularly on the Eastern Front where medical evacuation proved impossible. The Soviets built protected hospitals during the siege of Leningrad, operating underground while the city endured 872 days of bombardment. Their strength was continuous medical capability, improving survival rates. Their weakness was limited capacity, forcing triage decisions. Hospital bunkers give wounded soldiers a chance to survive long enough for proper treatment. Infantry fighting positions. Infantry fighting positions prioritize immediate protection for small units during active combat, typically 6 to 8 feet deep, wide enough for 2 to 4 soldiers. They exist because exposed infantry dies quickly, and armies need simple fortification keeping men alive. Structurally, these positions combine earth excavation with overhead cover, sandbags, and firing ports positioned to provide interlocking fields of fire. Design favors speed of construction using available materials. The Soviets dug thousands during the defense of Stalingrad in 1942, using rubble and frozen earth. American forces in Vietnam constructed fighting positions with timber, sandbags, and corrugated metal throughout fire bases like Khe Sanh. Their strength was universal availability and rapid deployment. Their weakness was vulnerability to artillery and temporary nature requiring constant maintenance. Infantry fighting positions keep soldiers alive long enough to fight back.